Welcome to the Silent Archive. Today we're cracking open the source code on a deeply human instinct, greed. We're not here to pass judgment, but to run a final audit, to understand the ancient programming that powers that relentless, nagging pursuit of more.
So let's just start with a really direct question for you. Do you ever feel like you're just trapped? Like you're on this treadmill always running towards more but never actually getting there? Well, what if I told you that isn't a failure of your willpower? We're going to explore the idea that you might be operating inside a biological feedback loop, one that for our modern world was never designed with an off switch.
And this, right here, is the core of the whole problem. You could call it an evolutionary mismatch. See, your brain's operating system, its software, was coded over millions of years for a world of scarcity, a world where not enough was the constant threat. But you're trying to run that ancient software in today's world of just insane hyperabundance. That mismatch, that's the source of the glitch.
Okay, so let's get into the first part of our audit, the diagnosis. We're going to frame this constant drive for more not as some kind of character flaw, but as exactly what it is, a glitch in our ancient programming.
Think about it this way, and this is so important. You are a hunter-gatherer with a smartphone. Your deep-seated instincts are trying to solve a type of hunger that isn't about calories anymore. It's structural. It's why you accumulate things not because you need them, but because your primitive brain has literally forgotten how to stop. And this is where it gets kinda sinister. That constant signal for more, it isn't just ambition. You gotta see it for what it is. It acts like a predatory virus. It's a really slick piece of code that convinces you to trade your peace, right now, for some imaginary future that, by its very design, can never, ever feel like enough.
Okay, so that's the what. Now let's look at the how, the actual pathology. What are the neurobiological mechanics behind this ancient glitch? Well, for millions of years, the biggest threat to your ancestors was not enough. Not enough food, not enough shelter, you name it. And because of that, our brains evolved this incredibly efficient resource hoarding mechanism. Let's take a look under the hood.
So the most crucial piece of this puzzle is understanding dopamine. We always hear it called the pleasure chemical, but that's just flat out wrong. It's the chemical of pursuit. It's the motivation molecule. See, dopamine rewards you for wanting something, for the thrill of the chase, not for actually having it. This distinction is absolutely critical.
And this is how it traps you in a loop. First, you anticipate some kind of gain. Then, you pursue it. You get it, and poof, a brief little spike of dopamine. But, and this is the killer part, your brain adapts almost instantly. It's called hedonic adaptation. Your baseline level of satisfaction resets, but it resets higher, which means to feel that same little kick next time, your brain demands an even bigger stimulus. You're always chasing a target that's moving away from you.
Now, let's pull this into the world we actually live in. Because our modern environment hasn't just noticed this glitch in our programming, it has actively, brilliantly weaponized it. The algorithms that run our lives are specifically designed to trigger that ancient hoarding instinct, using things like infinite scrolls and artificial scarcity.
And this brings us to this powerful concept of digital dust. Your hunter-gatherer brain is being fed all these things that look like resources, but they have zero nutritional value. You're accumulating stuff you think is critical for survival, but because it has no real-world utility, your brain never gets that all-important satiety signal. It's like you're starving while you're eating.
And this isn't some abstract theory. I'm talking about the actual culprits. It's the endless notifications, the number of followers you have, the likes on a post, that inbox with thousands of unread emails, the folder stuffed with articles you saved to read later. Every single one of them triggers that pursuit loop, but they never ever provide real satisfaction.
So, okay, what's the side effect of hoarding all this digital dust? Well, it leads to this really strange condition we can call the accumulation paradox. And here's the paradox. The more you collect, the poorer you actually feel. Every saved article, every unlistened to podcast, every single unopened opportunity, it just adds to your cognitive load. It becomes a weight. And you end up in this bizarre state where you possess everything, but you inhabit nothing. You become a curated prisoner of your own success. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the self-defeating nature of this instinct when it's left to run wild. The very mechanism that was designed to ensure your survival, to keep your house warm, ends up burning the whole thing to the ground.
Okay,
So that's the diagnosis. That's the deep dive into the problem. But look, an audit isn't complete without a prescription. So let's shift from the problem to the solution. A clear, actionable plan we're going to call the satiety protocol. Here are 3 concrete steps to start regaining control. First, the Stoic audit. Try 48 hours of voluntary scarcity. Less input, less noise to just reset your brain's dopamine sensitivity. Second, resource liquidation. If you haven't used something in 90 days, it's just noise. Liquidate it. Get rid of it. And third, the contribution shift. This is huge. Change your metric of success from what you take to what you give. Tie your dopamine to building and creating, not just owning.
So ultimately, we have to redefine wealth. In the archive, our measurement of wealth isn't about what you have in the bank. It's about the degree to which you are no longer controlled by that ancient, relentless need for more. True wealth is freedom. It's sovereignty.
And this brings it all together beautifully. It's about this fundamental mindset shift. It's about consciously deciding to move away from the default logic of our evolutionary past, the logic of more, and choosing a sovereign logic for our modern world, the logic of enough.
So, we'll close the archive with this final question for your own audit. Understanding the glitch, that's step 1. The next step is to consciously override it, to recognize that you are not just a consumer, you are a sovereign entity who can choose to outgrow its cage. So the question is, have you outgrown the animal?
Have you ever had that feeling that the more you get, more money, more followers, more stuff, the less peace you actually have? Well, you're not going crazy. We're about to dive into some source material that decodes this exact modern anxiety, this relentless, nagging instinct for more, and, most importantly, how to finally escape it. And this right here, this is the heart of the problem. You know, this isn't some failure of your willpower or your discipline. The source material makes it clear. This is a biological trap. It's an ancient program running on the very modern hardware of your brain. And today, we're going to figure out how to break free.
So, where in the world does this trap even come from? All right, let's start with the diagnosis. The root cause is what we call an evolutionary mismatch, a fundamental conflict between our ancient brain and the crazy modern world we live in.
This slide just lays it out perfectly. For pretty much all of human history, the biggest threat to our survival was scarcity, not having enough. So naturally, our brains evolved this incredibly efficient hoarding mechanism. The problem? Well, we now live in a world of insane abundance, but our brains are still running that exact same ancient scarcity software. That hoard instinct, it's now permanently jammed in the on position.
I mean, just think about that for a second. You have the same basic brain wiring as your ancestors who were out hunting mammoths, but you're using it to scroll through an infinite social media feed. You're trying to satisfy this deep, primal hunger for security with little digital hits that offer zero real sustenance. It's a mismatch of epic proportions.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does this play out at a chemical level in your brain? How exactly does our biology keep us stuck on this endless treadmill of just wanting? The mechanism is fascinating, and you need to know it, because it is being exploited against you every single day. Now, this right here is a huge misconception we need to clear up. We all tend to think of dopamine as the pleasure molecule, right? It's not. It's the pursuit molecule. It's the chemical of the hunt, not the feast. It rewards the anticipation of getting something, but it gives you almost no lasting satisfaction from actually having it. And that creates the vicious cycle you see here. You anticipate a reward, you get that brief little dopamine spike, and then your brain adapts. It's a process called hedonic adaptation. It basically means your baseline for pleasure just resets itself. So to get that same feeling again, you need a bigger, newer, better stimulus. The finish line is literally designed to always move further away. And this is where it gets really serious. Modern technology is engineered to perfectly hijack this dopamine loop. Every notification, every like, every follow, it's a tiny manufactured trigger. You're accumulating what the source material calls digital dust. It feels like a resource, but it has zero real-world utility. So your brain never gets the signal that you're full. You are effectively starving at a feast.
So we've got the diagnosis, we've got the mechanism. What's the actual tangible cost of being stuck in this endless cycle? This brings us to the central idea of this whole explainer, the accumulation paradox.
And here's the core paradox. The more stuff you collect that you don't even use, the heavier your cognitive load becomes. And that's just a term for the mental weight of everything you have to manage. Every unopened email, every saved article you swear you'll read later, every dollar saved for a future you're too tired to even enjoy, it all becomes this dead weight that just sucks the peace right out of your present moment.
Man, this quote is just chillingly accurate, isn't it? You become a curated prisoner, trapped by the very success you worked so hard for. You possess everything, but you inhabit nothing. You've won the evolutionary game, only to discover the finish line was just a mirage all along.
Just take a quick look at this list. Does any of it feel familiar? These are the specific things that drain our mental energy. Your ancestors hoarded berries and nuts to survive the winter. We hoard these modern assets to survive an insecurity that, let's be honest, no amount of accumulation can ever cure.
And there it is, a perfect summary of the whole problem. The very instinct that was designed to protect us, when it's left unchecked in our world of crazy abundance, it ends up destroying the very peace and security it was supposed to build in the first place.
Okay, I know, that was the diagnosis and it's a little bleak. But the source material doesn't just leave us there. It offers a clear, actionable prescription to get back in the driver's seat. It's called the Satiety Protocol.
This slide right here lays out our roadmap. It's a 3-step process, and it's designed to break that cycle of accumulation and shift you from the logic of more to what we'll call the logic of enough. Let's break down each step.
All right, step 1 is all about recalibration. The source suggests engaging in voluntary scarcity, basically intentionally limiting your inputs like food, digital access, and just general noise for a short period. This actually forces your brain's reward system to hit the reset button. You're teaching your ancient biology that, hey, survival doesn't depend on a constant more signal. As the source puts it, clarity is born in the absence of excess.
Step 2 is a simple but incredibly powerful rule. If any resource, whether it's an object, a piece of data, a subscription you forgot about, hasn't been used in 90 days, it's just noise. It's adding to your cognitive load without giving you any real value. The prescription? Liquidate it. Either use it or lose it. True power, after all, is the ability to move without the friction of unnecessary weight.
And this is the final and probably most crucial step, a fundamental shift in your mindset. Stop measuring your success by what you accumulate and start measuring it by what you contribute. When your dopamine reward gets tied to the act of building something rather than just owning something, you become biologically unstoppable. So, what does life actually look like on the other side of this protocol? What is the real outcome of mastering this final, primitive instinct for more?
Well, the outcome is a state the source calls sophisticated poverty. Now, this isn't about being broke, it's about being incredibly intentional. It's a life that prioritizes the highest quality of a few things over the low quality of many. It's a lean, powerful existence, totally free from the friction of unnecessary clutter.
And this leaves us with a really powerful redefinition of freedom. True freedom isn't the ability to get whatever you want. It's the ability to want what you already have. It's a state of deep contentment that you can only achieve by mastering your own desire.
And this is the ultimate prize, to finally transcend that ancient biological loop that keeps so many of us trapped, to achieve what the source calls cognitive sovereignty. You've audited your primitive instincts, you've put a new protocol in place, and you are no longer a slave to the signal for more. We've covered a lot today, all pulled from the source material. So let me just leave you with this one final thought. What is one unutilized resource in your life right now that you can liquidate to reduce your cognitive load and reclaim just a little bit of your peace?